Hello, good morning. Okay, I have something that tells me when you guys are okay. I see you guys are here now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a brand new week. You might find that I'm not as enthusiastic as usual, just coming back from a little bit of flu, and it's pretty expensive to have anything called a flu in Nigeria now. So, pardon me. I hope you're hearing me loud and clear. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so because apparently you guys have discovered the email, and I got a few questions that came in from you based on my request. So I'm going to deal with those questions first. Yeah, we did say that we'll be doing that in the first phase ordinarily. So I got a total of 5 questions. One is from a gentleman called Prince Samson. He says, is Showore's style of revolution ideal, or do Nigerians need a more organized approach in taking back their country? First thing first, let me say this. If you ask if Showore's style is ideal, question to ask is, has any other person come out with any organized plan for a revolution? Fact of the matter is there's nothing with which to compare. He's been consistent in calling for one. Whether a better job could have been done in articulating one, that's up to posterity to judge. But the fact of the matter is that you cannot fault the man for his recognition of the fact that the Nigerian system is beyond redemption. The critical disconnect is in an inability to communicate these effectively to the Nigerian people. And you really can't blame that on the man, because if he wasn't communicating that, people like myself and multiple others have been communicating it. The question is, have the people been hearing? Have they even listened? Are they receptive to the idea that it's not their ethnic champion or their co-religions that is going to solve the problem? We all will prefer that a Voltron shows up, who waves a wand, and everything just gets better, but it's not going to happen. It will only happen when we all as a collective buys into the idea of change and then invest our energy in pursuing that change. So it's not about Showore's tactics, it's about us as a collective. We really need to look at ourselves and then ask ourselves some very hard questions. The second question comes from a gentleman called Afiz Balogun. No, Afiz Olanrewaju, I should say. He says, does Nigeria have the willingness to make a strong stance against the US, UK, knowing both countries? Well, question, really, it is almost impossible for a Nigerian government that is not connected to the people to resist the instructions and interests of whether the British, whether the Americans, or even the Chinese for that matter. If the interest of the Nigerian is not the paramount driving force behind the governance exertions, what you find today is what you will continue to find. It's not just the fact that this neocolonialism is real. It is the fact that even those who we call leaders in Nigeria today are actually agents of imperialist powers. Imperialist powers in Nigeria are diverse. It's not just the West. Even the East, figuratively, I'm talking China, I'm talking India, have become imperial powers in Nigeria because their interests are actively pursued, and the Nigerian interest is almost always subjugated beneath foreign interest by those who purport to rule the Nigerians. So it's not about the exertion of powers by these foreign bodies. It is the willingness of those who presume to rule Nigeria to submit the sovereignty of Nigeria and subsume it beneath foreign interest. So I don't blame. Yorubas have this funny proverb. They say, it is not their fault. It is the failure of governance that has led us to the point where we have become as prey to everybody. The third question is from Nnamdi Onyejekwe. He says he's of the opinion that it is time to start acting like revolution has started. When do we start sittings, slow driving on roads like the Belgian farmers and boycotts? Mr. Onyejekwe, I am in complete agreement with you that we've gone past the point where we should begin to take affirmative actions towards a revolutionary path. I agree completely. And it is actually part of that that led me to, during the course of this past week, I was responding to some tweet about a national swearing-in day for the crook at INEC. And for those of you who were busy voting, or what did you call that nonsense that you all went to do yesterday, you are wasting your time. You can't vote your way out of this mess. I was front and center in asking all of you to go register to vote because we believed in the illusion that we might find an electoral path to a revolution. But unfortunately, Nigeria is not amenable to such niceties. And brutally, we were awakened. So if we've been told in very clear terms that our votes do not count, that there is no justice to be found in our court, where does anybody expect us to find the enthusiasm to jump on an electoral cycle that we know that between Yakubu and the career criminal in Aso Rock and all the other monkeys occupying Nigeria, they've already written the results. So what's the point? So insofar as it relates to beginning to take affirmative actions, I am in 110% support of it. It is a function of making it systematic, also ensuring that we first of all close our own ranks. It does not stand to reason that we all want the same thing or profess to want the same thing, but we're coming from different angles and singing from different hymn sheets. All progressive forces in Nigeria would have to, at some point, understand that the divisions in our ranks strengthens our common enemy. And we would all have to get to the point where we understand sitting down waiting for an election cycle in 2027 with a Yakubu at INEC in fact, I'm not even sure that the path to an electoral revolution is going to be made any easier. How? Are they going, even with all the amendments you might care to introduce to the Electoral Act that we thought was already revolutionary in its intent, nothing is going to change. So I know that over the coming weeks and months, even as the hardship begins to bite deeper and deeper, we would all have to come to the recognition of that solitary fact. We are the victims, and we victimize ourselves further by our divisions and inability to chart a course. The fourth question is from Ajayi Muiwa. He was asking, there is an error here, Muiwa. You were referring to the 1966 Constitution. There is no 1966 Constitution. You have the 1963 Republican Constitution, which replaced the 1960 Independence Constitution. So, having explained that, let me read your question so that others would understand. You asked, why didn't the Constitution hold, and why were we not able to make it work? If we're going to revert to that Constitution, how can we do that? And how does it address the issue that needs to be solved? First thing first, the difference between a revolution and chaos is the presence of a plan for the day after. Those of us who have believed that the 1999 Constitution is a fraud and should be done away with, and that we should revert to a regional system, a parliamentary system, that's been the last negotiated agreement of the Nigerian peoples amongst themselves. We say this in the clear understanding that there cannot be a vacuum. You cannot, what we have today, the maelstrom you see all over Nigeria, is based on the fact that the existing constitutional order has been destroyed. Validating that fraud of February 25 last year by the Supreme Court effectively destroyed the fraudulent legal foundation by which this country had been governed for a while. So in demanding that the 1963 Constitution be revived, which this is a call that has been made by multiple persons, including myself, although I added a qualifier that we should recognize the 6 regions instead of the old 4. But to answer the meat of the question, it couldn't hold because men did not allow it to hold. When the disagreements that arose out of the 1962 elections, if those had been settled using legal means or going through the legal process, as imperfect as it might have seemed at the time, of course the system would have held. But young men, military men in their 20s, enraged and dissatisfied with the state of Nigeria at the time, they took matters into their own hands. And that is why we are where we are today. There is a last question that I have to take. It's from Adewale Adekola. He said, okay, so he was quoting me. I had an interview with Arise where I said, line 20 daily file to me up, multiply their brain power by 10 and force them to operate the 1999 Constitution. They will fail spectacularly. So he then asked the question, why did you join the obedient movement, bearing in mind the comment above? The question you have asked is a fair one to ask. But again, what would you have counseled? Inaction? I joined the obedient movement and I was very clear in joining that I joined in order to seek a change. I sat down with the principal, Peter Obi, variously before the election. And I know as a fact that the centerpiece of his argument about changing Nigeria, moving Nigeria from consumption to production, cannot be achieved without a fundamental restructuring of the Nigerian state. He shared aspects of his restructuring plans with me and several others, including Afenifere, to which I belong, and including the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. He shared his restructuring plans with us extensively in private discussions. So we were already aware that we were supporting a candidate who is interested in doing what we expect for Nigeria. That was the basis of my joining the obedient movement. I'm not a member of the Labour Party. I do not belong to any political party beyond Afenifere, which is in truth the Yoruba name for the action group. When that body gets back together and float a political party, then I will stand up proudly in the midst of each and every one of you and declare to you that I have joined politics. As of today, I am a member of the obedient movement because of the fundamental idea and ideals. Fundamentally, I recognize that there are no saints. Nobody is going to come from Togo to save us. We're the ones who are going to have to save ourselves. Peter Obi is merely a totem, a figurehead behind which all of us who desires change coalesce. It's not about a political party. It's about a movement to change Nigeria, make it equitable for each and every one of us. It's not about persons. I think now I've eaten into the time for the lecture itself. So gentlemen, welcome again. If you're just joining us, let me now deal. When usually after delivering my lecture on a Sunday, I would typically by around Monday, Tuesday, I'll know exactly what I want to speak to by the following Sunday. This was an exception on multiple levels. Aside from the fact that I followed His Excellency Peter Obi to Ibadan on Monday, which disrupted my flow, there is also the additional fact that there are too many things happening, quite a lot demanding answers, but also a certain level of despair began to creep in. You know, when you ask yourself exactly what is it that has changed as a result of your exertions, I began to ask those questions of myself during the course of the week as my PA will come to me and ask me, oh, so what's your topic for Sunday? I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know what I want to speak to yet. But as the week rolled by, maybe perhaps because of the trip to Ibadan on Monday. That trip began with a visit to the IITA, a place I've stayed a few times. And then from there, we went to the governor's office. I grew up in Ibadan, by the way, and as I went around the town, something kept sticking in my head. The old Ubato Gunde song that came from his play, Yoruba Ro'nu, Yoruba Ro'nu. You know, it kept coming into my head, and then the killing of the Obas in Ekiti came up. The kidnappings in Ekiti came up. The kidnappings on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and I traveled that road on Friday, came up. The killing of the Obas and then the one in Kwara State again came up. And the more these things were happening, the more I was forced to ask myself, we keep saying Yoruba Ro'nu. Is it only Yoruba that needs to Ro'nu, or Nigeria itself that needs to Ro'nu? So that is what led me to this week's topic, Yoruba Ro'nu, Nigeria Ro'nu, a call for reflection, a call for sober reflection. So let's dive into this. Yoruba Ro'nu means Yoruba think. Chief Hubert Ogunde coined this phrase, but you must understand very clearly the context in which this phrase was coined. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this becomes necessary when you consider the usage to which it was deployed. That phrase came in a season, the play itself was released in 1964. It came in a season when there was turmoil in the Western region. Chief Awolowo had been kicked out of power. He was being handed to prison. Yoruba land itself was in turmoil as a function of Akintola's politics. You must understand that the context of Yoruba Ro'nu was one in which Yoruba nationalism that was built in the 40s and 50s by Egbe Omo Odua, Egbe Omo Olofin, had become fractious as a result of the infighting within the action group. So, what Hubert Ogunde was saying to the Yorubas was a call to introspection. He was asking them, the Yoruba people as a collective, because we are a disparate lot, from the Igbominos to the Jeshas to the Ekitis. You mustn't forget that we fought the longest civil war known to the history of man. The Yoruba nation was in turmoil for decades, almost 100 years before the British came and settled the intra-ethnic warfare that was going on in Yoruba land. So when he coined the phrase as an invocation to thought. He was demanding that men should think. He wasn't calling for ethnic irredentism. No. Chief Ogunde was a nationalist. He wasn't calling for some Yoruba irredentist awakening. No, he was demanding that the Yorubas should unite themselves and stop fighting amongst themselves as they were doing in the context of 1964. Having explained this, and I'm sure some of you might wonder, there is a man, an eminently qualified man, a learned silk. Chief Wemo Ogunde is a son of Chief Hubert Ogunde. In a 2022 interview he granted to The Punch, he took time to explain this, that look, his father was a nationalist, and the call was for unity amongst the Yorubas who were busy decimating themselves with words here and all the political infighting and wrangling that were going on in the Western region. To misappropriate that, as was done, is a different ballgame. So understand the context. It wasn't a fascist call. It was deployed to that purpose in 2023, but that was not the purpose at the point in time. So when I say Yoruba Ronu, Nigeria Ronu, a call for sober reflection, it is because that slogan, the phrase, has been misappropriated to the point where it has become the currency of fascists who are using the term as a call to band together as Yorubas against other ethnic nationalities. Now, where are we today? If you're asking people to think, if you're calling them to deep reflections, there must be an empirical basis for your call, and there should also be an understanding of where you are today that is demanding the introspection in question. Where are we? We're facing a multi-pronged risk of implosion as a people. Obas are being killed in their own domain, traveling within local communities. They are being killed. When you ask yourself, how do you explain the context of Ronu in an atmosphere of turmoil where nothing appears to be settled sufficiently for anyone to do any productive thinking? The question you now begin to ask yourself is this: these people who were busy Ronuing during the elections, demanding that we should think, why are they not demanding that we should think and then act in this season where everything appears to be going wrong? In Nigeria today, you have unbridled impunity striding around in our country. A landlord will remove the roof of a house and post it boastfully because he knows nothing will happen. A man will steal more than he can spend in 100 lifetimes. They will catch him. He knows nothing will happen. He's negotiating to drop a few of the millions that he has stolen, and then they will clap for him, and then you see him bagging chieftaincy titles, the former Attorney General of the Accountant General of the Federation, and yes, the Attorney General of the Federation himself. So you find a situation where we are in dire straits. The country is collapsing. It's actually imploding. You have terrorism, almost impossible to deny that it is state-sponsored. You have all manner of illegalities. Look, let me show you one. Every day, when you drive by any bus stop, any major bus stop in Lagos, you'd see somebody writing something on a docket. Sometimes they write it on the windscreen of the bus. And then you ask yourself, what is this? I'll tell you what it is. It is the payment for the impunity for the day. He gets a ticket to be above the law. So you driving a private car, you see a bus, a keke, any one of the commercial drivers, you see them, they'll make turns right in front of LASMA, police, whoever cares to be there, makes no difference to them. They make their turn, they break all laws with impunity, nothing happens. The policeman will not say a word, nobody will say anything, but you, private citizen, try doing anything of the nature. Even when you haven't, they are looking to entrap you so that they might extort you. But the person who has paid for the day's impunity, the light will turn red, it will turn anyway, and nothing would happen. This calls for sober reflection. What kind of country are we building? Where is law and order? How do you expect anything good to come out of this complete breakdown in the society? The social fabric has been destroyed almost completely. You see, I'm not exactly a purist, and I'm not here to monitor anybody's morality. I'm not done monitoring mine. But look around us. Look around us. Nigeria needs to take some time to think deeply. I was reading online yesterday, a girl of 12, domestic worker, became somebody's sex toy, 12-year-old. Somebody's sex toy. And then a brave young woman fought and rescued this girl. The man was taken to police custody, but he's out now because the girl's family had been settled. Poverty had rendered them susceptible to settlement, and the state, whose duty it is to prosecute these crimes, was ready to let it go because somebody had been settled. So you ask yourself, what kind of country are we building? You look around you today, naira to dollar, it's probably about 1,000 what? 15? I don't know. But the question is this. Someone would ask you, what are you buying in dollars? Tell me one thing, just one thing that we are still manufacturing in Nigeria. I was in the hospital on Wednesday, Tamiflu, a drug to treat flu. I paid 42,000 naira for that. How many Nigerians can afford that? Malaria is becoming a killer again. Don't let's talk about typhoid, because if you got typhoid, you got to use myriads of antibiotics. Where's the money going to come from? Where are the drugs? Where are the manufacturers? There is an imminent collapse of our society, and we are not paying attention. Yoruba Ronu, this has gone beyond Yoruba Ronu. Igbos need to Ronu. Ijos need to Ronu. Ibiobio needs to Ronu. Fulanis need to Ronu. Hausa. Everybody in Nigeria needs to Ronu, or this country is going to collapse around all of our ears. And it's not going to be long at the rate we're going. This is a call to a deep reflection. Enlightened selfish interest demands very strenuously that we took a look at our society, at our country, at the totality of ourselves, and then ask ourselves, what we are doing, the country we are building, is it sustainable? Can we sustain this system? Is it something that we would like to see sustained? These are questions that we all need to answer by ourselves. Look, a man says he's traveling up and down the place looking for investors to come into Nigeria. Has he taken a look at the Nigeria he's asking people to come to? Does he understand that those people see us in very unflattering light? Say Yoruba Ronu. This Ronu goes beyond the Yoruba. It is the totality of all of us that we need to sit down as a people and determine exactly what we want to do with this country, or it will decide what it will do as a consequence of what we have done. And what I am saying is a country that is dying in installments. Yeah. Nigeria is dying in installments. Yorubas have this proverb. They say, Ishu atenomoro, ki jono. That is, how do you want? Okay, so let me see if I can interpret that. What it simply means that if you are unceasing in demanding that things be done, then it will be done. Unfortunately, the more we have wailed, the more we've shouted, the more we've sought to draw your attention to the imminent collapse of this country, the more recalcitrant the rulers have become, and the less engaged you have also become in finding solutions to Nigeria. We've all become victims of Nigeria. All, without exception. All. But the question that we need to be asking ourselves, how long can we keep these up before it blows around our ears? I am worried about Nigeria. I am seriously worried about Nigeria. I'm worried about it because it does not appear to have any hope to offer to us any longer. On a daily basis, you look and there are multiple reasons to despair. Yoruba RO'NU, but Nigeria needs to even RO'NU more. This is not one of those days when it is easy to say the things that one wants to say because they are very difficult truths to pass on. But there is no other way to say it than to say it. They say that Ogede Mbaje Alonpo, this ripest fruit, is the saddest. However you look, wherever you turn in Nigeria, yeah, I know the Nations Cup thing is our current distraction. And it's nice to have these distractions once in a while. The church and the mosque religion is gradually losing its allure. So it's no longer serving the job of distracting as much as it used to. The pastors and imams have been largely discredited by their effort on behalf of Jaguda. But football is there now, keeping all of us anesthetized. So we have taken our eyes off the ball and we have conveniently ignored the reality of our existence. But even in the midst of all of this, Nigeria has continued to die in installment. So yeah, Yoruba RO'NU, but Nigeria RO'NU even more. Where we are demands urgent retrace of our steps. It is very unlikely that those who are ruining Nigeria are going to do anything to change our situation. It will be entirely up to us to find common purpose, repair the breaches, and then pursue the desired change. The rulers or ruiners of Nigeria will not change Nigeria. It is not in their interest to change Nigeria. They desire no changes. A lot of them do not particularly love their appointment in Tinubu, but they banded around him because they know that it is in installing him that they can preserve themselves. If you ever doubted that, take a look at what happened during the gubernatorial election and then check out what happened at the Supreme Court. Why do you think they were all busy thanking Jaguda for their retention in office? They understand the fact that a detente had been reached. Parties have agreed that, okay, let's maintain status quo, keep what you have, and everything is hunky-dory. The war amongst them have ended. You know that plea where I told you, do not die in their war? That war is done. They are done fighting. They have clear understandings. They know who is to do what. When you hear them quarreling or squabbling, it might be because they didn't share it right. That was what happened to Beta. Beta misyanked. She stepped out of line and they smacked her back into line. She hasn't done anything that all the ones in there are not doing. I'm saying this to you so that you understand clearly that there is no coincidence of interest between you and the rulers. The coincidences of interest are amongst the victims. And if the victims do not find ways to recognize this very quickly, they continue to leave themselves victimized. So I'm saying to you, Yorubas need to RO'NU, and those of you who are busy taking the mickey from the monkeys who are busy using Yoruba RO'NU as a slogan to support Jaguda. Yeah, go ahead, read them, make fun of them if you must, but remember this. Without finding common purpose, even with those idiots, we're all going nowhere. Elections are over, but the consequences are with us. As much as we might dislike what they did during the elections, and I'm talking about fellow victims, it is time to find the grace, help them to see the commonalities of these afflictions, because more are coming. Petrol prices are going to go further up. I assure you they will remove. Change you heard the thing that your power and steel, power minister of power was saying, Adelabu, He's already canvassing that they should remove every last vestige of subsidy. They talk about government subsidies, but they will never talk about the subsidies that are given by me and you. Every day we subsidize government inefficiency, corruption, and impunity. Every day. Every day that I spend money buying diesel, every day that I spend money paying Megad, every day that I spend hours in traffic, each and every day that I go to the hospital and I spend extraordinary amount of money to treat either myself or any member of my family or staff, I am subsidizing government inefficiency. The thing you need to understand is that if we do not find common purposes, we will perish together. Let me make something clear to you. The ruiners of Nigeria are so myopic that they cannot even see what is in their own best interest. Even their own selfish interest, they can't see it. They are constantly focused on eating, just stuffing their guts, stealing what they cannot spend in God knows how many lifetimes. That is their way. But those of you who still have the capacity to introspect, you can think. You need to now begin to think beyond the now, because I'll show you. I got a few gray hairs in my head now. Maybe in a few years, if I live that long, I'll have a full head of white. But I can still remember the time when I was a wee little boy running around the streets of Ibadan, Fiditi, Ife, well, the places where I grew up. But today, I'm an old man. Even when I forget it, a lot of you remind me. And it is the same for each and every one of you. Time is going. No matter what you've built, no matter how much you've stolen, no matter how many compromises you make or are making or you've made, a day will come. Oh yeah, a day will come. A day will surely come. We'll be no more. But the consequences of the choices we made, the compromises that we encouraged, those consequences will live beyond our own time. Our children will get out of it. Each and every one of those who are planting today, who are thinking that everything, look, they will reap what you have sown. Think very carefully. It's not just the Yorubas that need to ronu. And the Yorubas particularly need to ronu because you are the ones whose phrase has been misappropriated. If it's going to be of any use to you or any help, let me tell you, ronu does not mean bonu. Ronu and bonu might sound alike, but the person who is capable of introspection does not end up stupid. What they are demanding of us is that we should become stupid. The purpose of weaponized ignorance is the stupefaction of the victims. When they ask you to ronu, they are not actually asking you to think. They are asking you to react viscerally and to respond in the programmed manner. Ask no question, just support unquestioningly. That is the thing they are saying when they say ronu. But ronu, which is to be stupid, should not be confused with ronu, which is a call to think. Use your brain, your God-given brain. Ask yourself, how is it in my enlightened selfish interest to support this man or that man or this system? How? My dear Nigerians, my brother Yoruba, Igbo, Ibiobio, Fulani, Hausa, whatever you might be and wherever you are, you need to move beyond the slogans. Think. Allow your brain to be your guide. Use your brain. Don't let them be using your head to carry pom up and down the place. Use your brain. This morning is essentially a demand that you use your God-given brain. Any religion or person that is demanding that you should put aside your brain and be responding emotionally is your enemy. Use your brain. How does making enemy of A or B or C, how does it advance your own cause? What does it do for you? Exactly what has A or B done to you to deserve your enmity? These are the things that you need to be looking at. Because I'm seeing your comments, I can't help but see the secessionists as well. And let me be clear, and I'll say this without meaning any offense. If I'm asking you to come together, it's not me saying that you should give up your right to self-determination, but it's actually easier to break this country if you truly desire to break it, if you first of all unite the people for change. If you had change, you can then begin to demand to assert your right to self-determination. That's what you find in Scotland. Today, because they have the right to self-determination, in every election cycle, the Scottish National Party continues to demand a referendum, even though they've had one that failed a few years ago. It is the right to self-determination that is taken to the point of making those demands. The system actually prefers that you focus on breaking Nigeria instead of focusing on changing it. Change it first, and then if you desire to leave, leave. It is a right to self-determination. The right to secession is a right of self-determination. The right of self-determination is the right of citizens. You are not citizens the way things are. None of us are. We are all victims. So if you focus solely on what they actually love it when you begin to talk about secession. They love it. The system loves it. Each and every one of those who should be at the forefront of championing the secessionist rights of citizens are busy at defeating trough. So I'm asking all of us, we have a common interest in surviving as a people, not necessarily as a country. Nigeria is functionally dead. Its economy is almost comatose by design. Poverty is the only thing assured by design. If anything is going to change, it would only change because we found the common purpose to come together to change it. I would say, in closing, this country will only change when we, as a collective, have found the will to change it. Looking to those destroying it to change it, it's not going to happen. YORUBA RO'NU, yeah. But Nigeria, RO'NU. February 25th should be the national swearing-in day for Yakubu, INEC, and each and every one of those who thwarted the sovereign will of the Nigerian people. For those of you who might follow and who follows me as well, is a symbolic thing, but words are life. Send your thoughts and wishes to Yakubu and everybody involved in the shenanigan of the 25th of February on the anniversary of the day. It changes nothing, yeah, I know, but it is the beginning and the building block of what we need to do. Confront this system is a must. This system is not going to change, and we will not be able to vote our ways out of this. But we'll begin by taking baby steps. We'll build solidarity. Get your black. Yeah. On the 25th, wear your black. Wear black and send your good wishes or bad wishes or whatever wishes you have for Yakubu and everybody involved in this thing. Yeah. When you want to train a dog, you start by dragging a rag in front of that dog. It trains his instincts. When you see animals, when they are young, they will look like they are fighting, but no, they're not fighting. They are training for the life in front of them. We have a long slog in front of us, but it will start from somewhere. Consider this one of the places from where we start. 25th of February, swearing in day for Yakubu and Iziok. God bless you. It's a brand new week. I know Nigeria can be dispiriting, but keep your head up. Keep your head up. God bless you. Have a blessed week in front of you.